Good afternoon, folks. Happy Wednesday, June 24th. I believe that's where we are at this time. I know I've been away for a little bit, but very happy to be back with you, coming live from Fantesca Estate Winery, but more technically, DLynn's Den in historic downtown St. Helena, just at the corner of Main Street, or of course Highway 29, and Adams, the southwest corner. So look, very happy to be here with a dear friend of mine, Mr. Artie Johnson, and we're going to discuss the incredible wines that he is a proud owner and vintner and winemaker for. Of course, I remember when he launched this label back with the 2015 vintage, and just his excitement of his new project and all the things that he was talking about doing in terms of making rosé, of course, that he'll get into a couple ways to do so, but he chose one particular way, making great Syrah and some Rhone varieties, of course, and making an incredible Chardonnay. And as I mentioned, look, I'm coming to you live from DLyn's Den today, historic space that we're fortunate to be able to launch very, very, very soon here. I did have a bit of a sneak preview last weekend with a couple of collectors in who really, really enjoyed it. Of course, social distancing. Only three folks, keeping our 6 feet apart, and we had a magnificent time, and they really enjoyed the history of the old world, the new world, and how the old world kind of inspired us to do what we do at Fantesca. But at the same time, of course, Fantesca is true to the terroir and to the unique style of all the climates and microclimates that we employ, if you will, being Spring Mountain, Howell Mountain, and of course the Russian River Valley. But look, without further ado, because those that know me know that I just ramble and talk, I want to stop doing that, and I want to bring in my dear friend, forget friend, he's family, man, and he's what can I say, more than family, Mr. Artie Johnson of ARTISHASIC. Come on in, let's bring him up.
D.
All right, how's it going?
Man? Great to see you.
You too, man. Very happy to be on with you, man. And wow, look, I've been drinking your wines for quite the number of years now when you really think about it. And I'm really proud to have three of these incredible wines right in front of me that you'll get into very, very momentarily. But 2018 ARTISHASIC Rosé, of course, which I've corvined, which you can see. I can't polish off 3 separations by myself right now. And for the listeners and viewers out there, we're not going in any particular order because I'm going to be drinking mostly the Syrah right now because I love red wine. But
Yes.
I'm also at the 2018 ARTISHASIC Chardonnay,
Yes.
which we'll dive into. And of course, last but certainly not least, 2017 Corvined Syrah. Oh man, La Meredith Vineyard. Holy smokes, man! I'm digging them all, but I'm really diving into this one most. But
Thank you.
you know, I want to kick this off, Artie, because and again, I promised I'm going to shut up, so I'm going to do just that. But I want to really kick this off, man, because you are obviously a Black American vintner, proprietor, winemaker, and though there are more out there, more of us out there, if you will, we aren't always in the headlines. We aren't everywhere. I know things have fortunately changed here recently where those things are coming more to the front, and we're fortunate for that. But you know, before we dive into what it is that you do,
Yes.
because you've done it and you're doing it, how do we produce an opportunity for more of yous, if you will, more of your type of talent in the business today?
Right. No, thank you, D. First of all, I want to say it's a blessing to be here with you, brother. And congratulations to all the amazing work you've been doing. I know that, you know, you all had big momentum with Uncorked before the world turned left or right, whatever you want to call it. But I want to encourage everyone to continue to revisit that project because it's a very special project. And, you know, I think the one thing that we need to do is you and I and our peers need to continue to be successful, because when we're successful, we're more visible. I think it's important for the youth to see people that look like them doing things that they want to do. You know, one thing that's pretty interesting take on it is, you know, most of my career was in restaurants, and I think I probably gave my parents multiple heart attacks by spending most of my career waiting tables. And they said, we send this kid to this expensive private school and great university so he could go wait tables in 3 different states, and that's how I learned about wine, and that's how I was exposed. So I think a lot of minority parents, they want their kids to be doctors or lawyers or go work in corporate America. And I think all of that is great, but we also need to be entrepreneurial minded, and we need to think about alternatives because every kid has a different personality. So I would love to see minority students be more exposed to other career paths, and I'd love to see their family members and parents support that. The other thing I think is we have to give back. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing, and I've committed to helping with that by giving minorities an opportunity to come out during harvest and see what we do. The path that I took it wasn't a straight path, and I think as minorities, we have to start thinking that if that straight path isn't made for us, then why do we keep, banging our heads on that wall or that ceiling? Why don't we figure out things that are going to make us happy, make our families happy, and be able to support our families? Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for in life. I would love to see more opportunities in corporate America for minorities, but I'd also love to see more minorities take unorthodox routes to the path that they want to achieve as well.
Absolutely, man. Incredibly well said. Incredibly well said. Well, with that, man, with that wonderful preamble from you, let's really dive into ARTISHASIC, man. Tell us who you are, man. Tell us the ethos of this wonderful and amazing brand that you have created that collectors in Miami are drinking, collectors in New York, restaurants here in Napa, collectors in Texas. I mean,
right.
People drink your wine as though they're trying to buy, very exclusive Burgundy and Bordeaux and all the cult wines. People want ARTISHASIC. I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. There's an old baseball saying that sometimes you got to be more lucky than good. So, it's been a good ride so far. I have to say that I've had a lot of help in terms of mentorship. Also, my wife has been very supportive, because I think when you watch your husband shovel a bunch of money into some project that you don't know what direction it's going to go, I think she's taken a big role in being supportive, and she's very high up in this industry, as you know, and I've leaned on her many times for questions along the way. ARTISHASIC, and the interesting name is a combination of my wife and my children's name. So my son is Artie the third. He's 3. My wife is Shannon Staglin, and then my daughter is Cicely. So ARTISHASIC is a combination of them, and I really try to honor them in what I do. I make very small production wines. I work with mostly 2-ton lots. So most of the wines are 100 cases, 200 cases, sometimes 50 cases, depending on whether I'm blending or not. And I specialize in Rosé, Chardonnay, Syrah, and also Carignan. So in terms of, and I appreciate you saying that people are drinking the wines in different places. Building a mailing list, you really have to do it the old-fashioned way. And direct-to-consumer is a lifestyle. If clients want to taste the wines or they want to go to dinner, especially pre-COVID, I mean, my wife and I were probably at dinner 3 to 4 nights a week with clients, and often at separate dinners with clients. So if you want to build a mailing list, and you want to have high direct-to-consumer demand, it helps to have low quantities, but it also helps to know who your clients are. Because if they have a friendship with you, they're just not, most of them just aren't my clients. They're friends of mine. They will continue to spread the word about your brand. So in terms of the marketing, you're not doing a whole lot of heavy lifting. You concentrate more on the quality of the product, and then your friends and clients really help share the wines with other people.
Absolutely, man. I mean, geez, incredibly well said. As we dive into these, because as I mentioned, man, I'm really crushing the Syrah right now, and I want you to go in the order that you'd want to go in. We don't have to taste Chard first, then Rosé, then Syrah. But honestly, man, since I'm really crushing the Syrah right now, mind if we start with that one? Tell us a little about the Syrah, man.
I mean, I think, I have to go back. When I wanted to start this brand, I really looked at areas in California where I felt like I can make a difference. The rosé thing was kind of starting to happen. 2015 was my first vintage, and now it's kind of exploded. Chardonnay, I felt like there were kind of two extremes. There was like big, rich, traditional California, and then there were like wines that were being made extremely lean and at some point acidic. And then in terms of Syrah, there was also two schools, right? There was like very lean stem inclusion, and then there was like big, rich, hard to even tell that it was Syrah. It was more like red wine. So I wanted to make a difference, so I chose those varieties. And with Syrah, I think you have to be a little bit crazy because many people are scared that you can't sell Syrah. That's what everyone says. But I think the reason why is because people were making it like Cabernet. So if Cabernet drinkers want to drink Cabernet, they're going to drink Cabernet. They're not going to drink Syrah that mimics Cabernet. So if you just make the varietal true to itself, you find a great site and great farming, and you try to stay out of the way with a bunch of stylistic changes, I think you have a really beautiful wine that can appeal to all drinkers. And I have many people that love Cabernet that buy my Syrah, but they don't buy it because it reminds them of Cabernet. So I think that's one of the secrets for anyone out there that wants to get into Syrah. Let the varietal show. I love beautiful floral aromatics. I mean, you're drinking the Lagier Meredith Vineyard Designate, which I'm a very lucky individual to be able to buy that fruit. Steve and Carol are legends, and they let me make wine from their property. And that's probably one of the most high pressure wines that I make because I would never want to let them down. They don't sell fruit to anyone else. So I take that very seriously.
Love that, man. I mean, this wine's absolutely incredible. And I've had it several times. I've had it in blending phases. I've had it in your table. I mean, I've had this wine a bunch, so I really, really love where it's come, this single vineyard from the Lagier Meredith family, of course, Steve and Carol, or
Thank
Carol
you.
and Steve, I should say. But
exactly. Don't get Steve in trouble.
Yeah. The cool thing about it is, look, I know we all get hung up on, oh, wow, your wine tastes like this old world producer. Obviously, we all give the tip of the hat to the old world. Some folks don't, and that's quite okay also. But when I'm drinking this, man, it really puts me in the mind frame of drinking some of Francois Villard's wines, of course. And I adore his wines, and I really adore this one, man. What are some of your favorite, like kind of old school wineries, man? Old school domains and old school chateau and kind of old school producers? Because you like Rome.
That's a great question. I mean, I love Domaine Jamais and Alimán. Those are probably my favorites. Yeah. I'm doing a project right now, and I was kind of inspired by Jamais because I read that he had, upwards of 20 different vineyard sites to make one wine. And so I'm up to 12 in a blend that I'm doing, and it'll eventually be up to 17 different sites all across the state, 1 to 2 ton lots, and that will go into one bottle. So I think what I get from Jamais is a lot of complexity. Complexity for me is what makes wine interesting, and you have to figure out how to gain that complexity. Single vineyard wines are tough because you have what you have, so you better have a really strong site. So that Lagier Meredith wine is really beautiful because that site is super strong. It's farmed in an amazing way, so that single voice is very attractive. But we all saw the explosion of California single vineyards. Many of them probably should not have been made because if you do a single vineyard wine, it really needs to be strong. Blending allows you to have this symphony of flavors, aromas, and really build, a long palate, great mouthfeel. So I love Jamais for that, the depth and complexity. Alimán, for me, just the amazing high tones reminds me of what Syrah is really about. I think when you get to certain parts of the world, people maybe identify it with like really dark fruit. And, you used to work on a very special project, Penfolds Grange. I mean, that's you think about Shiraz, that wine is beautiful and gorgeous, but I think for every Grange, there's maybe 100 wines that aren't Grange, but are trying to do that. Aliman reminds me that Syrah is a very lifted variety, and oftentimes when I'm making it, I'm thinking a lot about Pinot Noir production versus Cabernet Sauvignon production. So that's just stylistically for me. I don't think it makes it right or wrong, but stylistically, I'm looking for those high tones. So those are two producers that I really lean towards inspiration when I can afford to drink those wines.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So talking about producers, man, as I pick up this Chardonnay, which I am going to Corv in just a bit more here in a second. And again, not that we need to sit here and wax poetic about Arulo and Dovisat and obviously Raveneau, but are there any winemakers in specific, aside from producers, that maybe inspire your style of winemaking? Because look, let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, Artie Johnson is the winemaker for ARTISHASIC. So you're not just a proprietor, not just pointing in the vineyard and saying do this. Right. He actually he makes these wines. He does the entire production from A to Z on if I'm just adding up correctly, about 900 cases in total across all the wines. So not a lot of wine to be made. He's, in my opinion, doing a wonderful job in crushing, man. Who inspires you?
I have to start with folks that have helped me and people that I know. I think sometimes in the business, we start talking about, producers in other countries, but there are a lot of people here in Napa that have really helped me out. I have them on speed dial. I can call them. I'll start with Frederick Johansson, who is the winemaker at our family's winery, Staglin Family Vineyard. Frederick has really taught me the responsibility of being a winemaker and running my business, because he runs, the winemaking side of the business for our family. So he's in charge of millions of dollars, and the decisions that he makes and how he approaches his job in a professional manner affects every single person that works on that property and our entire family. So he's really inspired me in that way. Matt Courtney at Arista. I mean, we've had countless conversations about Chardonnay at the bar at Bouchon. And I would give Matt all these questions, and sooner or later he said, "Look, man, you're just gonna have to do it." Enough with all the technical questions. So, Andy Erickson, right? Andy, who I've had the pleasure of consulting on a direct consumer manner for at Favia. We worked on the Mayacamas project together. And Andy also was a winemaker at Staglin in 2001 and 2002. So Andy's taken me under his wing, and he's very successful working with many brands and putting on many hats. So I think those are probably three of the top people that I can really say have helped me a lot. And there's numerous people, from Braden Albrecht at Mayacamas and Nathan Littlejohn, who was the old winemaker at Mayacamas when I was working there. And I would pepper those guys at 7, 8 in the morning about winemaking questions before ARTISHASIC was even born. Mm-hmm. So I think this is kind of one of the things that we should think about. Mentorship is very important, right? So if you have mentors, then you need to find people to mentor. And there's no way that I would have this brand or these wines would taste the way they do if people didn't help me out.
Absolutely, man. That is such a testament to, first and foremost, these individuals that I know most of all of them. I know Matt Courtney. I don't know him incredibly well, but obviously Braden and Frederick at Staglin, and obviously Andy Erickson. Yeah, man, just incredible individuals that, really lend their time and their expertise and their brilliance to help others, man. And that's something that goes a very, very long way. And
exactly.
I know that you're continuing to do that yourself. So that's the
D, one person too that I'm pretty inspired by is Brad Grimes, Brad at Abreu. And one of the things I like about Brad is Brad's kind of recluse. He's very focused on what he's doing, and he has kind of a single voice project. I mean, of course, David is heavily involved in that project, but Brad's pretty much on his own. Yeah. So I feel that way in my project as well. I make the wines, and this is a single voice that you see. So I've talked a lot with Brad about what it means to have a single voice project versus, you know, proprietors, winemakers, assistant winemakers, that kind of thing. So he's helped me really, you know, because you can feel like you're on an island, but he's really helped me out a lot too. So I can't leave him out there.
Absolutely, man. And of course, big shout to Brad. Look, let's dive into the Laterre and the unique of the 2018 Laterre Chardonnay, just to give you folks a glimpse of the back label. With the difference between where we are now through our medium here, Social Live and Instagram, is that the label is not backwards. But on Instagram, everything you show is. So
right.
Let's dive into the ARTISHASIC Laterre Chardonnay. Not single vineyard though, but it is Sonoma Coast AVA.
Yes, it's two different vineyards that I blend together. It's important to understand the ARTISHASIC project. I'm jumping around California, so I'm looking for specific sites that work with those varietals. So in terms of Chardonnay, I go to the Sonoma Coast, and then I also get fruit from Santa Barbara. For me, I really love sites that have natural high acidity and lower pHs, because then I can be more creative. I can also hang the grapes a lot longer. And my wife likes to joke with me and say that I'm the last to pick in my white wine vineyards, and I'm one of the first to pick in my red wine vineyards. And I don't know what that really means, but I think it means that with Chardonnay, I like some richness, right? And if I find sites that have higher natural acidity, then I can get more richness to achieve balance. If I get into a warm site and acidity is lowering over the growing season, now my hands are pretty tied, you know, and maybe I'm forced to do a pick earlier than I would like. There are many gorgeous styles of Chardonnay internationally. And I feel like my wines are always pushed towards the center. You know, I pick late because I like texture, but I'm in vineyards that have, you know, higher acidity. And I'm aging in 500 and 600 liter barrels, which are once or twice used. So there's some oak, but it's not overpowering. And then I'm on lees, but I don't stir. I don't do bâtonnage. And then I'm in barrel for about 11 or 12 months. I don't go 2 winters in barrel like some of the wines that we're used to drinking in Europe. So I love to find the center. This wine is kind of a baby. I wish I could fast forward 3 or 4 years to taste it, but I really love the structure in the wine. The aromatics are really beautiful, the freshness, but the density prevents it from being like too edgy. And with Chardonnay, I want the palate to be really full, and I think we're able to achieve this here.
I think so, man. Not I think so, I know so. Of course, according to my own palate, I absolutely love these wines. I love
Thank you.
But I do want to point out the beauty of all of these before we dive into the rosé, which, dare I say, most sought after, most popular. Again, every collector's home that I have been in, whether Miami, Gables, New York, Dallas, Houston, I mean, SoCal, this next wine is there.
Thank you, man. I've been working.
But I tell us about the uniqueness of your of the wax on your corks, man. I know. Look, there are folks that think it's very cool to do. There are folks that think it's actually it actually helps the wine, if you will.
Yeah.
Aerobic, how much air is actually permeability is getting through the cork, through the wax, through the cork. So I mean, everybody's got their reason, but
right. You know, first of all, my glass comes from France, so that's kind of cool. And I mean, maybe less cool with the tariffs, right?
Yeah.
It makes it more expensive. But that label was designed by myself and Richard Von Saul. So Richard was a gentleman that was introduced to me by my wife, and he does interiors. He actually doesn't do a ton of labels. The thing I like about him is the labels are always an odd shape, and he leaves very little white space. So I wanted to be very creative there. And he knows our family very well. So I think we were able to dive in pretty deep with some of the hidden meaning in that label, which we can go over later. In terms of the labels and the waxing, that's all done by a buddy of mine, Eddie Balbuena, Wine Specialty Services. So those labels are put on by hand, and the bottles are waxed by hand. I actually saw him this morning to get some 3 liters labeled for a client, and they do really amazing work over there. I love supporting other small businesses, so I'm always looking to see who's doing exceptional work and how I can share some of my dollars in that direction. And with packaging, for me, it's like it needs to make you have some type of positive emotion. I think that's why we drink wine, right? Like we enjoy like the taste of it, and it, it lightens up the conversation if you have enough of it. But it's fantasy, right? We don't sell reality. So I want to get to a point where every single label, the mood of the label reflects the wine inside. That's why they changed. The Syrah is very dark, and then the rosé label is bright. So it's just a way that I can express myself through that beautiful packaging. And I always think about, what would this bottle look like in a collector's cellar who has, these amazing wines around the world? I want my label to be able to stand out. But one thing I will say, if you got some fancy packaging, you better have the wine in the bottle to back it up. Yeah. So I spend most of my time thinking about that. And then 5% of my time is in this creative that you see.
I love it. I love it. So look, man, 191 cases, if I've got that accurate.
Yeah.
on the rosé, man. What's the cepage of the wine?
Well, my concept for rosé, and like I said, it doesn't make it right or wrong, because there's a bunch of different ways to get to a beautiful wine. You got to pick early, but you can't pick too early. So one of the advantages in California is I know that we're ripe because it's very warm. So I can make an aggressively early pick and still get texture. You're drinking the Shake Ridge Vineyard, which is farmed by Ann Kramer, who's an absolute saint in this business. And, I go out there, and one thing I'll say is I'm not a micromanager of my growers. I tend to pick really strong growers, and we collaborate on how to farm and when to pick. But I always let them do their thing. I'm going to make the wine. I'm going to sell the wine. They're in the vineyard every day. And the more of my wine that they actually try, the more they understand what I'm trying to do. But I'm not there to stand over their shoulder all the time. So it's a great site. Shake Ridge is in the Sierra foothills. Andy Erickson and Helen Keplinger have made amazing wines. Fabian Keplinger off of that site for many years, and a host of other people.
As well as Chelsea Hoff. Shout out.
As well as Chelsea Hoff, who I saw actually the last time I was at the vineyard. She was out there doing her sampling, and 2-hour drive one way, you got to be serious. Absolutely.
And I should say Chelsea Hoff Gulper.
Yeah. Don't get it wrong, D. Hey, Chelsea, congratulations. And I look forward to seeing you out there at Shake Ridge. It's a special site, D. You got to start with amazing site. You have to be very humble to know when the grower needs to make a call, but you have to have confidence to know when you might need to make a call. So you got to pick the grapes earlier. They're a combination. They started in tank, the fermentation, then I put them down to barrel, 500 and 600 liter puncheons that are fairly neutral, because I don't want like with the Chardonnay, I can get away with some of the oak, but with the rosé, the oak could get in the way of the floral notes and the stone fruit notes. Same way, I'm on lees, no batonnage. I have fairly reductive winemaking practices. I never rack any wines. I've never racked a wine, which is crazy, right? I've never racked a wine. They're simply made, but there's times when you have to be on high alert, because reductive and reduction are quite different. You don't want reduction at all. So I want this wine to be something that brings great pleasure. And in a way, I want it to be more than a rosé. Like, drink it with your dinner or drink it on the porch or do whatever. Like, I don't love when wines are like pushed into these corners, right? You know, you could have this with a beautiful piece of fish, or you could have it at the beach or whatever. You could pour it around when guests arrive to your home. So versatility is very important for me. And I think this wine is really beautiful, great mouthfeel, but the freshness is the star of this wine.
Did you also mention whole cluster?
Whole cluster press, yeah. You know, there's a crazy debate kind of between, you know, whole cluster press and Saunier. You know, I don't hate on Saunier rosés, man. I mean, people got to get that money, you know, when they bleed off those tanks. It used to go in the ground, but then, you know, the accounting departments were like, hey, why don't we turn that into rosé? But I chose to stick with the traditional method, which is farm the grapes to be rosé, press them whole cluster, and really, you know, I also barrel ferment them. So treat it like a wine that needs complexity. That's my style. So you're often drinking back vintages of my rosé because they spend that time in barrel and they have a lot of structure, whereas most of the wines will be put to market you know, the following spring. But I don't know that I really, you know, I don't hate on that. I think people need to do what they need to do. I just feel very strongly about making my rosé project a serious project.
As you should, man. And I think it's incredibly serious, and I think it's wildly successful. And we wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you.
With this ARTISHASIC. Obviously, with Staglin Family Vineyard and all the beautiful things that you and your wife and your family are doing there.
Thank you.
As Reza, Shannon and Frederick's Staglin's winemaker, Shannon and
Yes.
Frederick's project Reza. So, you know, obviously continued success in everything that you're doing, man, and obviously with proper distancing and masks. I'll see you and the kiddos here very, very, very soon, of course. And
absolutely,
you know, man,
again, I know you missed them, D. So I have two things here for you. Okay.
All right.
So this is the first one. This is Arthur's favorite toy.
3.
This is a dinosaur flashlight. Okay.
Tell him thank you very much. I love it. I love it.
And this right here. So this is a Doc McStuffins medical kit. But you have to be careful if Cicely is if you see her for a visit, because there's nothing inside. So I don't know how much she can help you.
I love it, man. Well, I'll if I get sick, CC can work on me anytime.
For sure.
Well, cool, man. You're more than happy to stay on. I'm just going to say a few closing words, but Daniel might put you into the green room. He might put you in back. I'm just going to close and say a few things. You know, and really just speaking about your Chardonnay, the fact that you're sourcing from 2 different vineyards really kind of leads me into our Chardonnay, which we didn't taste today, of course, because we do have some beautiful things coming. You know, the Fantesca Estate and Winery Russian River Valley Chardonnay is sourced from 3 vineyards. And we really believe in the same type of ethos, man. Farming first, family. You know, speaking of the Ulysses Valdez family, of course, rest his soul, and the Bacigalupi family and the Martinelli family. We've got 3 incredible vineyards that comprise our very small production. It's usually traditionally been about 650 cases. This 2018 gave us a little bit more fruit that we really love, so about 800 cases or just shy. But we've been working on something incredible, the entire Fantesca team here, and we will be sending out an email tomorrow. I'm almost certain about 24 hours from now. Well, that would be 4:30. So tomorrow morning, you know, all of the wonderful friends of Fantesca, you know, members of Fantesca will receive this beautiful email that really celebrates Lady Verona. Of course, you know La Fantesca very well, La Colombina, our story dating back to the Cometa dell'Arte. But La Verona is the name of our wonderful young lady that will adorn our 3-liter and 5-liter hand-etched, hand-painted bottles of Fantesca Chardonnay that we will be sending an email link out to first thing tomorrow morning. So we're excited about that. The 300 the 3-liter is going to be $900, and the 5-liter is going to be $1,500. And again, incredibly limited, as you can imagine. And yeah, so if you want to reach out to maybe get a head start, give us a shout at info@fantesca.com. But you will see a beautiful email coming your way tomorrow. And I think I'm going to kick it back to you, Artie, because what we didn't do is we didn't talk about the prices of Chard, Rosé, and Syrah. And lastly, as you tell us those, give us your winery website, your email. So our wonderful folks that see this and that will later see this as we put it into IGTV will be able to see this and say, hey, I need to buy Artie's ARTISHASIC.
Absolutely. So rosés are 45, Chardonnays are 85. And Syrah is 85 as well. And then I do have the blend Syrah, which is 125. And then I also make Carignan, which is 85 as well. So the funny story about, I thought about this today, and, there are people that, they try to quit smoking, right? And then they go 30 days, they say, but then after that, they just want to see how long they can go. And that's been me with the website. So right now, I think I'm on about 5 years without a website. So
every single year, that's what matters.
No, we have a great project that's probably going to launch in the fall. But you can find me at Instagram at WineXYZ, or you can send me an email, which is winexyz@gmail.com. And look out this fall and winter. We're going to do something really cool. I've actually convinced Richard to help me with it because I kind of wanted to tell a story. So once you see the front page of this website, you'll laugh because you'll think about the story that I wanted to tell. But that's where you can find me. The wines are very small quantity. They're mostly direct to consumer, but in terms of wholesale, they're only available in Northern California. I have some really amazing restaurants that have supported the wines from the beginning, which is special. French Laundry, Bouchon, Meadowood, Auberge, Cadet, V Wine Cellars, Morimoto. Really, it's a relationship-based business. So if people support me, I support them. So that's where you can find me. And I know, D, I told you, I said, man, I didn't want to talk about my wines the whole time. I wanted to get on here and talk to you about wine in general. So if we have any time left, let's bust out some wine talk, man.
Hey, Artie, if I know your wines are at TFL. When TFL opens back up, are you going to take me to the French Laundry to drink some ARTISHASIC?
Yeah, if I keep selling these 3 liters the way I am, I can take care of you for sure.
I'm only kidding, man. I'm only kidding. Well, hey, man, I think we are about to wrap. We've chatted for a wonderful 40 minutes in this great program. Happy to have you on, and blessed to have you on. Fortunate to have you on.
Thank you. Likewise.
I'm sure the kids will be running around in the next 20 or so minutes in the back. Please give them all the hugs for me. I miss them very much. CC and 3. But yeah, man, thanks so much. Happy to have you on, and I think tell Shannon hello whenever she makes it home.
Oh, I poured her some Chardonnay over the screen. She has arrived. So
all right.
She's in the house. One last word, D. I wanted to tell you I'm so proud of what you're doing, and you've been a brother to me, but you've also been someone that I've looked up to. You rocked out Penfolds the way you did, and now what you're doing at Fantesca is really incredible. And I know that both of those businesses were established, but you also put this amazing flair on it by getting people excited. And that's what we have to do in this industry. We can't assume, this is a luxury that, people spend $85, $200, $400,000 for a bottle of wine. So if we can't get excited about it, we can't expect our clients to get excited about it. And you've done an amazing job of that. And I appreciate your friendship. And it's been very humbling to be on here with you, brother. I love you, man.
Love you, man. I appreciate that very much, Art, man. It means a lot, man. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, hey, we'd like to thank everyone for joining. Happy to have each and every one of you here listening to us. And like I say, everyone that's listening on YouTube and watching on YouTube and our Facebook pages, of course, as well as Twitter. I've got my phone directly in front of me as the tweets are scrolling through. Thanks so much. This will go up on IG's TV channel, TV series site. I don't even know what you call that, IGTV. This will go up in the next 24 hours on IGTV for all the Instagrammers out there. But my last words, again, coming to you from historic downtown St. Helena, DLynn's Den, Fantesca Estate and Winery. Our little special, my little special, if you will, curation here is now live. Like I say, we've seen a couple folks over the last weekend, and I've got a few folks coming in this weekend, but they will go up on top very soon. DLynn's Den is open. Give us a shout. Thanks so much.